This story is from before my beloved husband and I got married. My name is Emily. When I was in college, a friend of mine, who had a boyfriend at a nearby university, invited me to watch a soccer game. Her boyfriend, even as a freshman, was a regular and a very noticeable player. Watching him play well and seeing my friend's joy made me really happy too. But that day, what left an impression on me wasn't the field players running and scoring goals. It was the sight of the goalkeeper working hard to stop every ball coming his way. I had never really watched soccer before, and it seemed so fresh and exciting to me. After the game, my friend's boyfriend came over to meet us. I stepped back a bit to watch them when he said,
"Thank you for coming with my girlfriend."
Just then, someone stood in front of us. It was the goalkeeper I had been watching.
"The coach is looking for you,"
he said to my friend's boyfriend. Up close, he was much taller than I expected. That was how I met my future husband.
"Tall and yet, my name is Michael."
He introduced himself with a bright smile, making me laugh. I think I must have fallen for him right there. Later, I found out that Michael had also had love at first sight. After hanging out a few times with the couple, Michael confessed his feelings, and we started dating. After I graduated and started working, Michael continued playing soccer in college and began coaching at a youth club. Our relationship progressed smoothly. When I turned 25, after dating for 5 years and seeing our friends getting married, I started wondering if a proposal was coming. Although I wasn't particularly keen on marriage, the thought of spending my life with the always bright and warm Michael was certainly appealing. If I were to build a family, it would be with Michael. That's how I felt just before this incident happened. It was 1 a.m. We weren't big on constantly messaging each other, but we always sent good morning and good night texts. Usually, Michael would text me around 7 p.m. to say he's off work, and we'd exchange good night wishes around 11 p.m. But that day, there was no message. At the time, I just thought maybe he went out with coworkers for drinks and went to sleep without much thought. I assumed he would contact me the next morning. However, even by the evening, when I finished work, there was still no message from Michael. We hadn't fought or had any bad air between us. We were just as smiley and happy the day before. When I still hadn't heard from him after 2 days, I decided to visit Michael's apartment where he lived alone. There was no answer when I rang the bell, and when I entered using the spare key he had given me, he was nowhere to be seen. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but I couldn't understand why Michael wasn't replying. Could he have been involved in some accident? By then, I was really starting to worry. I asked our mutual friends, but no one knew anything. I thought about going to his workplace to ask, but I hesitated, thinking it might be a bother if it turned out to be nothing. I kept wondering how he was doing. I just hoped he was okay. About a week after I lost contact with Michael, I saw his name pop up on my cell phone during work. My heart leaped at the sight of his name. I was in the middle of work, but said, "I need to use the restroom." I excused myself and hurried to the hallway to answer the phone. However, the voice on the other end wasn't Michael's.
Hello, is this Emily?
It was a voice I had heard once before, Michael's mother's voice. I had met her recently when we visited his parents' house. She had been lively and hospitable, but now her voice sounded quiet and somber, tightening my chest with worry. Had something happened to Michael? I was terrified.
Hi, this is Michael's mom. I'm sorry for contacting you late. Michael collapsed last week. Could you come to visit him at the hospital?
It was the dreadful truth I had feared. I don't remember what I said before ending the call. I told my boss I was feeling unwell and needed to leave early. He immediately agreed, noticing how pale I looked. I rushed to the hospital Michael's mom had told me about. In the hospital room, I saw Michael sleeping in bed, with his mother standing by his side. He looked like he was just sleeping, but his body was connected to 4 tubes. He seemed thinner than usual, and just that sight made me want to cry. Michael's mom,
Thank you for coming so quickly,
said with a tired smile. She then explained everything that had happened recently. Michael had suddenly collapsed at work the day we lost contact. He had been unconscious since then, hovering between life and death. The emergency surgery was successful, removing a tumor that was the cause, and he was now out of immediate danger. This news was a shock to me. Just a week ago, we were laughing together. Michael, who was always so close to me, had been enduring such a difficult time without me knowing. But hearing that his life was saved brought me immense relief. But this story didn't end there.
What I am about to tell you might be shocking, and I want you to make your own honest choice. Don't sacrifice yourself for Michael. Can you promise me that?
Michael's mother said to me with a serious look. I couldn't grasp what was happening and was not prepared for anything, but I could only nod in response.
Michael's life was saved, but there's a high possibility of lasting after effects. It seems like memory impairment. So, when he wakes up, no one knows how much he will remember. The doctor said he could forget his friends, job, family, even himself. So, whether he remembers you is still uncertain.
Michael's mother, having held back until now, let her tears flow. I couldn't hold back my tears either. Forgetting all the 5 years we spent together. The thought was unbearably sad. But my answer was already decided. My feelings won't change. Please let me wait for Michael to wake up. I said this and bowed my head. I wasn't ready to be forgotten by Michael, and it didn't feel real. But the fact that we had spent time together wouldn't change, nor would my feelings for him. Since that day, I visited Michael's hospital room every day while he was asleep. Then, a week later, Michael woke up. When I got the call from his mother, I rushed to the hospital. The doctor told me that more recent memories are often the ones to fade, so I prepared myself for the possibility that Michael might have forgotten me, as we had met 5 years ago. Yet, deep down, I hoped he would somehow remember me. Even just a little bit, I prayed. That was the wish in my heart. To avoid confusion, visitation was limited to one person at a time, aside from family members, so Michael's mom wasn't in the room. Nervously, I knocked and opened the door of the hospital room, and immediately, my eyes met Michael's. On the way to the hospital, I had pondered what to say if Michael asked, "Who are you?" I thought saying "I'm your girlfriend" might startle him, so I planned to introduce myself by my name, Emily, to help him remember. But,
Emily.
Michael looked directly into my eyes and said my name. I felt a twinge in my nose. Did he just call my name? Surprised and rooted to the spot, I saw that even the doctor seemed taken aback but quickly approached Michael's side, asking,
Do you recognize this person?
While pointing at me. Michael, with a look of surprise,
Emily.
repeated. I rushed to him. Then, yes, it's Emily, I said. According to the doctor, Michael had forgotten everything about his family, his job, everything. Yet, he remembered my face and name. But he couldn't recall our relationship or any of our memories together. Tears involuntarily spilled from my eyes. Why did he remember me? I wanted to ask but held back, fearing it might confuse him. However, the fact that Michael, who had forgotten everything else, remembered my face and name filled me with indescribable joy. In my heart, thank you for preserving even just this one memory. I thanked God. Even after Michael woke up, I continued visiting him at the hospital every day. Regardless of whether he remembered our past, he was still the person I loved. The next day, as usual, I knocked on the door of his hospital room and entered.
Emily, hello.
Michael greeted me with a smile upon seeing my face. His mother, sitting beside his bed, chuckled softly and said,
He seems to really like you, Emily. I'll leave you two alone,
and left the room with a smile. Even though her own son had forgotten her, Michael's mother was happy that he remembered me. Michael's kind and cheerful nature must come from his mother. That was what I thought to myself, standing at the door, unsure of what to do or say to Michael, who had just woken up and with whom I hadn't had a proper conversation yet. He noticed me hesitating and invited me to sit, pointing to the chair beside his bed. Oh, thank you. I replied in a formal tone, somewhat awkwardly, and took a seat. I had brought an apple as a get-well gift and asked, "Would you like an apple?" Michael smiled broadly and nodded vigorously. His smile hadn't changed at all since before the incident, which made me feel a bit melancholic. As I peeled the apple, Michael silently watched me. Feeling the weight of his gaze, I looked up and asked, "What's up?" He then asked,
So, Emily, what are we to each other? Friends?
He had been informed about his current situation and that he had lost his memory. The question "friends" felt a bit shocking, yet understandable. But I didn't know how to respond and just continued peeling the apple in silence. Then Michael spoke again.
Or maybe, are you my girlfriend?
I was surprised and looked up at him. He was looking at me seriously. I wanted to say, "Yes, we've been together for 5 years." But telling him that didn't guarantee that he would feel the same about me as a girlfriend now. This thought scared me, and I couldn't find the courage to answer. After that, Michael jokingly said,
Just kidding.
and started eating the apple I had peeled. To break the uncomfortable silence, "Do you have any favorite foods?" I asked him, even though I already knew the answer. He loved curry rice, hamburgers, sushi, all kinds of kid-friendly foods. I remembered his innocent smile when he enjoyed the high-calorie homemade curry hamburger rice I made at his request. But now, I wondered if he'd give a different answer. However,
Costella, maybe?
Michael said. This was a new response I hadn't heard from him before. "Why?" When I asked.
I feel like I've had some really good Costella somewhere. I don't remember clearly, though.
He said. That's when I recalled that last month, we had eaten Costella together at a cafe we stumbled upon. Did he remember that too? I decided to bring him Costella from that cafe the next day. The following day was Saturday, so I stopped by the cafe to take out Costella and headed to the hospital. But when I got to Michael's room, he wasn't there. I became anxious, and a nurse soon informed me that Michael had lost consciousness again due to fluid accumulation in his brain and was undergoing emergency surgery. Although they said the surgery went well and his life wasn't in danger, I couldn't help but fear that the one memory of me that had remained in Michael's mind might now be completely erased. In the hospital room, it was just me and Michael, who was sleeping. His face looked the same as before, but the memories of our time together were not in his head anymore. Despite having prepared myself for this possibility, my heart was still filled with sadness. I loved Michael and was here for him, but the current Michael might never fall in love with me again. It wouldn't be strange if he preferred someone else. The lost past and the future I didn't want to imagine weighed heavily on my heart, causing me pain. Before I knew it, tears were streaming down my face, and my crying echoed in the hospital room. At that moment, a warm hand reached out and touched mine, which I had placed on the bed. Surprised, I looked at Michael, who had slightly opened his eyes and was looking at me. "Michael, I'll call the doctor right away," I said as I started to get up, but he held onto my hand firmly, making me sit back down. I hoped for a moment that he remembered me, but perhaps he was just comforting me because I was crying. Michael is a kind person, after all. Holding my hand, Michael slowly shifted his gaze to the bag I was holding.
Costella.
The fact that he remembered the Costella made me so happy. "Yes, I brought it for you," I replied. Smiling,
It's the tasty one.
he said. It was incredibly heartwarming, especially recalling how he had excitedly said it was the best Costella he'd ever had when we ate it together before. I had promised myself not to cry in front of Michael, but tears were streaming down my face uncontrollably. And then, I couldn't help but ask him, "Do you remember me?" Then, Michael answered,
Emily.
Just hearing him say my name brought me immense joy and even more tears. I then asked what I had wanted to know the most. "Why do you remember my name?" I knew this question might trouble him, but it slipped out.
Sorry, I don't remember anything. But seeing Emily's face makes me happy. I feel like you're someone very important to me. That's probably why I remembered,
he said with a smile. I never expected to hear such heartwarming words. Overwhelmed with emotion, I finally expressed to Michael how much he meant to me. Later, Michael underwent rehabilitation, but it seemed his cognitive abilities had slightly declined. He had trouble remembering things in daily life, and it was uncertain if his memory would improve. He appeared mostly like the Michael I knew, but sometimes he seemed childlike. Yet, despite these changes, Michael fell in love with me again, and we started a new journey together. 3 years later, at the age of 28, I decided to propose to Michael. By then, we were living together, and I wanted to share my feelings in the comfort of our home. I want to be with you forever, Michael. But he looked troubled and said,
But I often forget things, and I might forget even more in the future. I don't want to be a burden to you, Emily.
His sad expression didn't deter me. It's okay. Even if you forget, I'll help you remember. Each time you forget, we'll make new memories together. I want this. No matter what, you're still Michael, and that's all that matters to me. Hearing this, Michael's eyes welled up with tears, and he said,
Wait here for a moment.
before leaving the room. When he returned, he was holding an elegant, compact box I had never seen before. Inside was a ring sparkling with diamonds. What? Shocked by this unexpected turn of events, I could only mutter,
I found this in my old house before I lost my memory. I think I wanted to give it to you. I don't remember it, but now I want you to have it.
Michael explained. Tears overflowed from my eyes. Michael had intended to propose to me before losing his memory. I remembered his smiling face from before the memory loss. Thank you. We hugged each other and cried together that day. Months later, we officially got married. Although there have been challenges, we've been blessed with 2 children. With the support of both our parents, we are living happily. Yesterday's you and today's you might be different. But if you're still you, being alive and beside me, there's nothing more I could ask for. I truly believe that now.